Standing at 6'7" and weighing in at 230 pounds, Luka's not really considered tall in the NBA, and neither is he considered heavy. Then when it comes to athletic abilities, out of all 450-ish players in the league, I'm sure we'd all probably agree that he wouldn't even crack the top 100 when it comes to pure athleticism. And yet, in saying all of these things, Luka Doncic is completely dominating the NBA like it's his own playground. I mean, 34 points, 9 boards, 9 assists, and almost 2 steals per game is what this man is doing in a league that's universally known as the #1 basketball league in the world, and he's only 23 for Pete's sake. Now, when I was 23 years old, I was working a part-time job trying to figure out how to pay back my student loans, for crying out loud. But Luka, this dude is going face-to-face and scoring on LeBron James in the paint. Anyway, why can't the strongest and most athletic players in the NBA guard Luka Doncic? Well, you'd be surprised. Everyone probably knows it by now, but in case you haven't tuned in, Luka Doncic just put on one of the greatest NBA performances in the history of the league. 60 points, 21 rebounds, and 10 assists was good enough for the 5th best game as per game score in NBA history, until Donovan Mitchell came around a week later and scored 71, for crying out loud. But that's another story for another day. As of this very moment, amongst the best of the best of the best hoopers in the NBA, like Kevin Durant, Giannis, Joel Embiid, it's Luka Doncic from Slovenia who leads them all in scoring at 34 a ball game. You might be thinking that he's a high-volume, inefficient player, but the numbers tell a whole different story. I mean, for example, true shooting percentage is a combination of field goals, three-point field goals, and free throws. Anything over 60% is considered elite. Giannis, a 2-time MVP and the 2021 Finals MVP, only has a true shooting percentage of 59% this season, whereas Luka is at 62%. It's not the highest in the league, but it's still pretty darn good for someone who's averaging, I'm going to say it again, 34, 9, and 9. Man, those are literally some video game numbers. Sheesh. Anyway, then on top of true shooting percentages, Luka is actually leading the league this year in the advanced metric PER, which stands for player efficiency rating, which pretty much takes into account everything a player does on the court. What I'm trying to get at with these numbers is the fact that Luka is putting up eye-popping production numbers on eye-popping efficiency. And also, like I said at the beginning, it's not like he's physically gifted when compared with the average NBA player. So again, that begs the question, how the heck is Luka Doncic doing this? How is no one able to stop him? Well, I'm going to start off with the obvious, and that's the fact that Luka has a deep bag. I mean, look at this play here. Luka's trailing the play, but when he receives the pass at the top, he first fakes the 3 to get his initial defender out of position. Then, when the second defender comes in to try and swipe away at the ball, he crosses it between the legs to protect the possession. Then he pump fakes once, and when the defender doesn't bite, he pump fakes again. When the defender jumps on the second bite, Luka then uses his footwork to get to the basket for an easy lay-in. Sheesh, guys. Talk about skills. Here's another quick look. Luka has the ball here. First, he uses a pick and roll to switch defenders, but when the second defender closes off the lane to the basket, Luka starts rewinding things back. Then, the moment the defender moves up, Luka moves down, straight past him. Then, when the third defender here jumps up vertically to defend the rim, Luka avoids him, uses his left hand, and just swoops it home like it's a Sunday afternoon practice. Man, with a bag that deep, it's no wonder why no individual defenders in the league could really guard him. Then, to add on to that, this dude is a 3-level scorer. What I mean by that is, he can score from anywhere on the court, whether it's at the basket, or from the mid-range, or from beyond the arc. Luka is always lethal, and defenders have to be aware of that, especially when he combines his 3-level scoring with his basketball IQ. You see, although Luka isn't the most physically gifted player in the league, his IQ of the game is phenomenal. In every matchup, he always plays to his strength and his opponent's weakness, and if you're confused by what I mean, let me show you. Here's Luka on the perimeter being guarded by the 7'2" phenom Bol Bol. Now, Bol Bol may have a much higher height and reach advantage, and he's also pretty quick. so creating space just off the dribble and shooting a three might be a bit difficult. So instead, Luka uses his handles and weight to his advantage, backs down Bol, then creates some contact to get a bit of separation, and shoots a little 5-foot fadeaway right at the rim. That's a really high percentage shot. Here's Luka again on the perimeter, this time being guarded by the 6'11" DeAndre Ayton. Now, Ayton is a giant and is pretty quick, but Luka knows that from their series matchup last year when he delivered that Luka special which desecrated the entire Phoenix Suns organization and humiliated them in front of the whole NBA world, that against Ayton, whenever they're matched up with a step back, he can always get off a clean look at the three. I mean, gosh, some of these are just downright nasty. Anyway, moving on here. When you're both shorter and lighter than he is, it just spells trouble because look, here's 6'2" Reggie Jackson guarding Luka. Once the Clippers realize this mismatch and how defenseless Jackson is in the situation, they send a double immediately. Luka recognizes that immediately, spins the opposite direction, then as he's driving towards the rim, using his size, he just pushes Jackson out of the way, like it ain't no thing, jumps into the air to avoid the outstretched arms of Paul George, and just softly lays it in. Now, not even Paul George could say, that's a bad shot. Next off, it's a showdown between Luka and 6'2" Patrick Beverley. Again, with this type of size advantage, Luka can pretty much get off any shot he wants, and that's exactly what he does here. After taking 2 dribbles to get closer to the rim, he simply spins baseline for a mid-range fadeaway, and this is literally just a practice shot at this point. So it's clear at this point in one-on-one situations, it's incredibly hard to guard Luka because of how versatile he is. If you're taller, he'll use his quickness against you. If you're smaller, he'll use his size against you. And if you're roughly evenly matched in physical stature, he'll take out his bag. And the crazy thing is, this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Luka's offensive abilities, because the truth is, he's as good a passer as he is a scorer. I mean, he literally has every pass in the game book, and he's also consistently looking to give his teammates open looks at the basket. So, after an ISO situation when the double team comes, he already knows where the open man is and is more than capable of making even the most difficult of passes, even if it's between a defender's legs. Then, on top of the passes, he's also a master of the pick and roll. To create even more of an advantage, Luka Doncic often uses a screener to create more confusion on the defensive end to either get a shot off for himself or a wide open shot off for a teammate. Honestly, at this point, his offensive game looks complete. But what'll probably make Luka even more difficult to guard in the future is if the Mavericks can somehow acquire a second star not named Kristaps Porzingis. Because the truth is, aside from the injury-riddled Porzingis, the second best player on his team has always been a second-round pick. I mean, last season it was probably Jalen Brunson, who was 33rd pick back in 2018. Then this season, just looking at the salaries, the second highest paid player is Spencer Dinwiddie, who was the 38th overall pick back in 2014. Neither Brunson nor Dinwiddie has ever made an all-star team, and although they are good players, they're not at the level that would make the Mavericks serious contenders. If the Mavericks can somehow get a player like Jimmy Butler, for example, Zach LaVine, Damian Lillard, or Paul George, or any all-star caliber player for that matter, who could get off their own shot, then man, Luka and the Mavericks will instantly become true contenders. Anyway, on a slightly different topic, have y'all seen this play?
Carter, stolen by Doncic. Could be fun. Doncic!
My goodness, guys, what a dunk. You know, it'll be one of the greatest travesties in NBA history if Mark Cuban and the Mavericks don't pair up a generational talent like Luka with another star in the league. One of these all-NBA hoopers or their agent seriously needs to go on Shark Tank and negotiate with Mark Cuban on live television to get a deal done.